We want to take this opportunity to invite the non-Muslims to think about man, life and universe, and in fact what their whole purpose is in life. This is perhaps a question which many of you have never had posed to you. Perhaps nobody's ever reiterated or tried to provoke you to have this form of discussion. But we as Muslims, we are in fact believe as part of a moral obligation, as part of our faith, to invite the non-Muslims to Islam. In fact, to come to every community and to call them to the pure monotheism, to the purity, to the oneness of God Almighty, to accept Him as one God. A question may come to your mind when you hear such a provoking message or such a controversial message such as the message of Islam, that how is it that they could possibly be a God? How is it that they could possibly be a creator? Especially when we live in a day and age when we're pushed the idea of atheism or the idea of a godless society. And you can see the fruits of what a godless society it produces. The London riots, which occurred not too long ago. A godless society, for example, would have a society such as where people would indulge themselves in murder, in incest, in all sorts types of immorality and ills of society, which produces only junk, which produces only a society full of chaos, which produces only a society full of crime, of rape, of murder, of pillage, of wars, in fact, which we find even within the Middle East nowadays. God Almighty, He in fact poses a question to us where He says in Surah At-Tur, chapter 52, verse 35 to 36, were they themselves created by nothing, or were they themselves the creators? Which is a question in fact for the non-Muslims, where they like to claim, or people they like to profess, based upon previous knowledge that they have, maybe it's from the education system within the West, that we as mankind came into the world by nothing. That we in fact have no purpose in life when it comes to us living on planet Earth. God Almighty, He says, were they themselves created by nothing, or were they themselves the creators? Meaning the question in itself, it negates any possible form of answer that you could come with, except one. That is that you could no way, in any shape or form, by your own rationale, come to the conclusion and say, I myself was the creator, or you were the creator. Indeed, the question itself only has one answer, or one deduced answer, or one conclusion that we can derive from this, that there is in fact one supreme being, one supreme creator, your creator and my creator. It's not a matter of using our logic to understand that we came from a Big Bang theory, or that we evolved from some monkey or from some cow or from some animal form. Rather, the supreme creator, the supreme commander, the supreme legislator, the one who owns everything and the one who manages everything, in fact, orders us as Muslims and as non-Muslims, especially to look within the Quran. To look within the Quran and look within His revelation and within the verses of the Quran, to ask ourselves and ponder upon the question, did we come about from nothing? In fact, God Almighty, He asks us further as well, that when you look within your own self and when you look within the creation around you, surely you will find that there are signs that exist. Signs which exist in order to indicate that there is somebody who is worthy of worship, somebody who is a higher being than everything, somebody who is beyond what your own brain and your own mind can comprehend, the one who created man, life and universe. The one who placed us on this earth, the one who causes the sun to rise, the one who causes the sun to set, the one who causes the moonlight to appear, the one who gave flight to the birds without any batteries, without any engines, the one who provided cure to us through various medical means via their own natural resources which come from the very own ground, the one who provides the vegetation, the one who provides the rain and the wind in the winter time, the one who provides us the four seasons. The list is endless. Meaning what we are trying to provoke your own heart, your own natural disposition to think about is, where did man, life and universe come about? Where did all of this come about? Was it just a mere accident? Were you and me just a consequence of some big bang? Were you and me just a cause of our own selves to create our own selves? When you know, my dear people, none of us came into existence without our mother and our own father to have relationship, to consummate their marriage or their relationship, and for us to be given birth to. Verily, there are signs within that in itself. The whole process of life, if you think about it, God Almighty, He sends down food between the placenta and the womb. and how that nourishment is provided to you even before you are born. Without the intervention of any man, without the intervention of any government, you will find yourself having this nourishment. Even now with the 4D technology which is being provided via the hospitals, the scientists now have been able to prove that we are able to determine the sex of a child 3 months after the woman she falls pregnant. Not only that, we're able to discover now by science and technology how the child in fact even yawns within the womb. All of this with the permission of God Almighty. Man, he has no control over anything except that which God Almighty has permitted him to do so. Then think about when the child, when he's born, when the mother, she gives birth to the child, how God Almighty in a space of less than 20 minutes would provide milk within the woman's own breasts so that she can provide that nourishment then down to the child. Meaning God Almighty, the one who created us, knows that the child is not able to consume vegetables. He's not able to consume meat. He's not able to even be independent and fend for his own self. Rather, the child is dependent upon the mother. Then God Almighty, after the stages of the child, when the child starts to mature and starts to become a toddler, God Almighty provided us with teeth. And look to the teeth that he provided us. Different kinds of teeth. Some teeth are used for chewing. Some teeth are used for cutting. All of us, we have something called saliva. We have something called taste. We have something called a tongue. Something able to determine whether something is good for us or something is bad for us. Verily, just in that provision which God Almighty, he provides, he describes himself, God Almighty, Allah Azza wa Jal, he says he is Al-Razik. He is the all provider. The one who provides for the Muslim as well as the non-Muslim. The one who provides for the humankind as well as the animal kind. For both of the kingdoms. Even for the plants, how God Almighty provides that very nourishment. When we plant the seed within the ground. Who is the one who makes sure that the roots can grow? Who is the one who will make sure that the correct temperature, the correct sunlight, the correct rain, all of that is provided in order for us to have vegetation? Verily, my dear people, even when next time when you go to the supermarket, how about looking at what you find, the produce that you find within the supermarket? You will find things which are organic and inorganic. Verily, in that is a sign for you. In the summertime, we all enjoy ourselves some fruits, maybe some milk, or maybe some water. Isn't it about time that you start to contemplate and start to reflect upon your own self as a creation? Think about everything around you and ask yourself, that surely there is a creator. Surely there is a provider. Surely there is a bigger being, someone more in charge and more in control of everything that I see around me. Don't be fooled by your governments. Don't be fooled by Western philosophers and people of intellect who will come to us and try to provide us silly answers and try to provide us silly information that we ourselves came about from nothing. Indeed, we came from the back of our father, Adam alayhi salam. All of us, we are created in a perfect shape, in a perfect form, with many blessings. And God Almighty, he has ordered us and he has told us about our very purpose of life, for why we have been created. Allah Azza wa Jal, he said inside the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتَ الْجِنَّ وَإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that we have not been created for any other purpose except for the sole purpose to worship him alone.